Zoals u ziet beginnen we met een band. En de band heet de Willem Kloos Groep. Zij brengen nummers op teksten van Willem Kloos. Willem Kloos, u kent hem wel, de 80er. Het is zo lang geleden. De voorman van de Willem Kloos Groep is Frank Starek. En Frank Starek kent u als maximale dichter. Frank Starek bracht in 1988 de gedichtenbundel Nepvuur uit, die de avond de literatuurprijs won. De Willem Kloos Groep omschrijven zij hun muziek althans als een mix van de Doors, van Jacques Brel en van Harry Banning zonder strijkorkest. Het is pure rock'n'roll met laffe ballades. Kortom, veel clichés zonder knipogen. Hier is de Willem Kloos Groep. Terwijl de Willem Kloos Groep zijn spullen weghaalt, komt ik u TC Merenboer aan. TC Merenboer werd geboren in Groep. Dat is een plaatsje zo bij Petten daar in de buurt. En Merenboer is een beetje een apart geval. Enkele jaren terug in het Polanentheater las hij voor uit het beste uit de bundel 1992 van Vroom en Bedeesd Man. Enkele maanden terug, op 1 augustus, in het Vondelpark, droeg hij een doos voor. Wat het vandaag wordt, ik weet het niet. Hier is dichter, kunstenaar, acteur. Hier is TC Meerboer.
Ik wou beginnen met een heel klein beetje jazz.
Yeah.
Dat was het. Ik heb van de week een trommeltje gemaakt. Ik weet ook niet precies waarom. Nu ook, het is een primeur voor jullie allemaal, dat ik voor het eerst met een trommeltje ga proberen voor te dragen. Dus als het mij niet lukt, hebben we zowel jullie als ik pech gehad. Uit de bundel. Uit de bundel 1992 is deze. Dan ga ik het gedicht voordragen. Even naar de dokter. Algemene wenken. Raak een wond nooit aan met uw handen. Ga met elke wond welke door de huid heen is. Laat hem rustig liggen waar hij ligt. Wijs hem dan de weg naar de naastbijzijnde arts. Laat dan ook een geestelijke waarschuwen. Laat dan ook een geestelijke roepen. Laat dan ook een geestelijke roepen voordat naderende auto's gewaarschuwd worden. Laat dan ook een geestelijke roepen, opdat er niet nog meer ongelukken gebeuren. Vreest u levensgevaar voor degenen die geen opleiding hebben genoten, dan geldt slechts één stelregel. Daar het gebrek aan kennis eerder gevaar oplevert dan goed doet. Waar het van deskundige zijde niet raadzaam wordt geacht te leren, binnen het bestek van een agenda, worden degenen die zich wensen te bekwamen geadviseerd zich te wenden tot de plaatselijke afdeling. Laat dan ook daar waarschuwen. Onder de rubriek adressen staat de titulatuur. Die is heel moeilijk, want ik ga het proberen in één adem te doen. En het is nogal wat. Hare majesteit zijn hare koninklijke hoogheid, welgeboren jonkvrouw, freule, hooggeboren jonkvrouw, freule zijn de excellentie, edel, hoogachtbare, edel, groot achtbare, hoogedel, gestrenge, hoogedel, achtbare, hooggeleerde, professor, wel edel, zeegeleerde, wel edel geleerde, wel edel, gestrenge, zijn heiligheid, zijn eminentie, zijn hoogwaardige mod, excellentie, monsieur. Zeer eerwaarde hooggeleerde, zeer eerwaarde zeegeleerde, hoog eerwaarde, wel eerwaarde zeegeleerde, zeer eerwaarde, wel eerwaarde vader, eerwaarde zuster, zijn hoogwaardigheid. Is dit niet de wijze waarop een engel vleugels knakt, meppend tegen iets stugs, immens en broos de wens het alledaagse te overstijgen, door de toppen af te ronden. IJl jengelend fladdert het geest geworden woord, de roes die tegen het schedeldak bonkt. In een perkamentenvlucht door eeuwen, omgeven door zwermen elfen met rijstpapieren propellers. In een wereld waar mythes nooit ver van de boom der wijsheid vielen, waar op de achtergrond en afgemat engelen met elfen strijden om de gunstigste papieren, om vlinderslag of schoolslag, op het schuim van vuil water. Terwijl motten dwarrelen om de vlammen van het vuur, waar rond wat mensen zitten die lotgevallen vertellen van het vuur, dat rond de aarde trok en tenslotte ook de meest beschaafde geschriften in de as legden. En wat jou betreft, die de eer te beurt viel, eigentijds bewoner van een stadsgezicht te zijn, de ene straat in, de andere uit. Als dat is wat je denkt te volbrengen, verzwijgend oor en oog te zijn, je tong gebroken, je lippen gebarsten, op een stijf en verschrompeld woord. Geen lieftalligs zal je hinderen vingers te breken op gesloten deuren. Dat was het, alstublieft.
Wij over overstijgende get-onderhandelingen, omgaand internationaal zonder sancties. Hij werd geboren in 1962 in Los Angeles, verhuisde via Boston naar New York en woont daar sindsdien. Daar studeerde hij af als psycholoog. In 1981 verscheen zijn bundel Big Bank Take Little Bank. En in 1992 won hij de Fresh Poet Award, uitgeschreven door het New York Poets Café, voor de meest veelbelovende jonge dichter van New York. Dames en heren, ik presenteer u uit New York, Paul Beatty.
What did he say about me? Alright, what's up?
You look like Happy Bear.
What's that?
You look like Happy Bear.
Happy Bear.
Huggy.
Huggy, oh man.
But you're better.
Alright. This first one is called Will to Have a Son. Fuck a remote control. Pops don't need technology. He just goes, Sean, Don, Mom, one of you motherfuckers come here and change this channel.
Wow. Brainwaves on the channel.
This is gonna be straight. This one, this I wrote. I used to live uptown in Harlem and moved down to the village. Y'all know the village. This is what I wrote. It's called At Ease. Every morning around about 9, the East 2nd Street red fire engines whine. A shrill drill sergeant roused in my mind. It's time to rise and shine, shine. In the East Village, another dollar draft recruit, boot camp, saloon sample, a Genesee on tap, dancing ham bone poet, bivouacs in the Ruby Lower East Side barracks, making friends with homespun poet pundit bums, reciting Jack Kerouac. And for fun, I attend all-night outdoor open mics, free readings about real people that seem so lifelike. Last night I bought a stolen bike, a freewheel 3-speed guru goatee, camped down on Avenue B, and for a change in perspective went to a retrospective of scatological abstraction from Popeye to Gillespie. Skeeter Reebok, rap at the bows, the bang the boom, I am what I am and that's all that I am. Billy bop, repetitious rot, don't forget to stop at my acidity sop co-op. Listen to my Louisiana, Lambada Tostada, cholesterol free, blah blah blah, poppycock. Salt free nuts, salt free nuts.
Oh, yeah!
I just kick back and watch the black combat boots move through an East Village tour of duty, an in unison death march to the cadence of the ultra cool. Hut, hop, hoo, hop, het, hoo, hop, het, hoo, hop, het, hoo. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, let's go back and write some mo. I admit there's an urge to merge Ginsberg Ice Age incantations with some inspired Spitfire monk vibes, but no Tai Chi for me, G. Nicks on the tie-dye won't Hindu my blues nor tofu my soul food. I'm gonna be the bulimic bohemian, eating of my people, then purging their regurgitated words on the page, and the poems become self-made little Icarus birds, immaculately hatched in the multicultural nest eggs of the East Village in West LA. Born to sing lyric segues to arcades, what's a Latin scientific slave name for pretty peacocks whose feathers span the flesh spectrum but are stuck on with wax? It looks nice, but can it fly? Look, up in the sky, it's a bat, it's a crow, no, it's super nigger, Indian, Chicano, woman is gay, this and everything, able to fly through the peephole in the white media's ozone, talk proper on the phone, and act ethnic at home. You know, it's like multiculturalism's a left-right guard of truth, justice, and the American way, a spray on deodorant against the stench of isms. Contents under extreme pressure may explode. Understand the effort to prevent skin cancer by removing the epithets and fluorocarbons from the history text, but multiculturalism sunblock jargon doesn't protect against big brother sun rays on days when niggas went to the beach and wore socks to cover up the lack of respect for the black feet. Not the Indians, but the crusty lizard skin, 2-inch thick toenail, curl, hammer toes, knuckle corns my soul is resting on. Never heard anyone other than a black man utter these words. Man, she got some pretty feet. Though nobody appreciates feet like we do, I fell in love with my second grade teacher's feet. Her toes smooth and flat, her insteps were all that. I would drop my pencil a lot to watch her wiggle her little piggies under the desk. We used to stay after school to sneak around and smell her shoes, and this little piggy ran all the way home. What'd you learn in school today? About how Columbus landed in Cuba and stuck a flag in the ground, how Neil Armstrong landed on the moon and stuck a flag in the ground, how Rick Rubin landed in rap and stuck a flag in the sound. Hey y'all, look what I found. The East Village, a human garden, a botanical class menagerie with its own avant-garde beatnik color guard. That when asked to present the colors of their flag, they go white and Bob Kaufman and Leslie, oh yeah, the angry guy. Hey Leroy, I joined this people's army to seek that quintessential beat freedom that only white boys seem to achieve. The rest of us still dream about being so casual, being able to act up with that Bill Murray, I don't give a fuck, boom shakalaka, chief house rocker attitude. Hey, do you care to smoke a bowl? No regrets, hold your breath, don't smoke Buddha, can't stand cess. It takes two to make a thing go right, so I force a discourse with Corporal Gregory Corso. His piston disciples fix bayonets, point their self-righteous rifles at my writing. Don't get upset, but why don't you, blacks and other oppressed, etc., write more universally? Does that mean write more white, drink tea in the morning, write about flowers and lust, and poeticize the dust and the light rays? Don't pull my daisy, but like Paul Revere said at the end of his midnight ride, whoa. It never ceases to amaze me that whenever these jazz-crazed, surly black parades police the proud grounds of their past, they always mention Diane de Prima last. Boom shakalaka, that's the fact, Jack. I've heard Elvis, Donny Hathaway, and Roberta Flack rap about the ghetto, but in the village you can peruse stacks and stacks of used and overdue library books, rows and rows of Mad Magazine paperbacks like Al Jaffe's snappy answers to stupid questions. How does it feel to read in front of so many white people? Snappy answer number 1, the Tompkins Square Park Zoo closed at 1. Snappy answer number 2, I feel the earth move under my feet. I feel the sky tumbling down. Snappy answer number 3, sometimes I feel like Othello in the last act. Desdemona is through and now using modern medieval seppuku, he's fixing to spill his noble guts to the public. Soft Jew, a word or two before you go. I have done the state some service and they know it. Speak of me as I am, nothing extenuate. You must speak of one that loved not wisely but too well. I took by the throat the dog and smote him thus. Why you stabbing at my brother in the back? I ain't got no weapon. Doing the Hollywood shuffle here in Alphabet City where the contradictions are so deep. You got white supremacists dating black chicks where the tattooed unclenched fists of the anarchists talk about if they had money they'd start the revolution, when if they redeem all the pop bottles they toss at the cops they could at least leaflet all the way to Avenue D. But Paulo Freire, multiculturalism, and Foucault and the highbrow what's wrong with the world, hand-built and postered so-and-so don't go into the projects because that's where the for real dispossessed pink slip gorillas in the mist stay at. Hanging around brass monkeys on the buzzard's back, and in the middle of my rant, the man said, lighten up, Jack, straighten up and fly right. Cool out and add a white boy to your jazz collection. So I attached Jerry Mulligan's hook and ladder, long-ass sax, fire engine, red hair to my wake-up solo. This morning I feel like a Black Simon playing poetic trumpet. My, ain't that something. A literary Bojangles in a military band playing taps, red, black, and green at half-masses, bitterness is dead, while Uptown's fife and thumb drum corps separates the trapezoids from the squares, the raw from the done. I polish up my buttons and buckles, check out my reflection, faking the funk, and I'm ready for inspection. Lace up my Doc Martens and I'm marching. Hup, hop, hep, hoo, hup, hop, hep, hoo. Looking good, looking good, looking good like you should.
Wow!
I don't know if they have them out here, but you guys have the instant pregnancy test? You stick that thing in the, right, okay.
No problem.
Yeah, this, well, sometimes. Yeah, we have this one, and if the 2 pink dots come up, that means you're positive. It's the EPT. This is called 2 pink dots, you're positive. Make a life, take a life, that's what they say, that's how they think. It's a well-rehearsed macho thought process, a litany of hand-me-down pocket pool epiphanies, followed by word, right, you know it. Me and my bloated belly float by and still they wink, then without asking they rub my summer stomach. Little nigga must be sleep, yo. Steve, Reese, and Supreme call themselves Full House because they believe they 3 kings with a pair of queens each. It's high stakes playing poker with players who can make hello, how you doing sound like a threat. Girl, you better speak. And I ante up with, what's going on? Maxing, chilling. Damn, these motherfuckers must barely move. What's new? Just cooling. Sometime a nigga stick his neck out from the peer group and say something stupid. Wish I could have a baby. Excuse me? Why are you so pseudo-delirious and you'd better say, I wish I could have periods? Hush that man is right the fuck up. But right then I knew I was carrying a boy. I could feel him want to get out and hang with the crowd, but he couldn't. So he leaned back, put one foot on my uterus, pulled pants he didn't have down to the crack of his ass, tilted his baseball cap. Barely into his 3rd trimester, and the little squirt was already down with OPP. Every other day after breastfeeding, I make sure he sees the stretch marks from my crotch, the watch he wants for his birthday. He loves Mickey Mouse, asking company to slap his chubby hands. Give me 4, man, give me 4. My shit was so ripped up, stitches. I remember that facilitator at Teenage Mothers at Risk, nerve to show me pictures of her afterbirth. Oh no, girl, pregnancy is worth it. Here's Kevin's placenta on the beach of Jamaica. Here's the umbilical cord eating cotton candy at Disney World. Thought she was teasing me. I'd never been on a vacation in my life. Thought her job was to make things easier. Shouldn't have quit though, I was unprepared, no prenatal care. Next thing I know, I'm having contractions in the cab. Thought I was gonna die, but I played the cool role. Thought you got to the hospital and dropped the load. Nope. Asked the doctor, how long is this labor business? He said it could last all day, and that's when I proceeded to go crazy. I got real hot, took off my smock and just started staring at the clock. Barry, my nigga, stopped looking at the nurses then. Say, you naked, baby, put your thing back on. But put that man in the headlock and together we addressed the doctor. You mean I gotta go all the way around? Look, baby, are they talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Now I know what they mean by a race against time. It was mothers on your marks, get set, and I jetted, ran down the hall, butt naked, big belly shaking, started raving, take this baby, get this motherfucker out now. At the hospital said in that sing-song voice as if I was a kid in for a tonsillectomy, miss, you're not dilated. Fuck it then, C-section, scalpel, get a goddamn scalpel, stat, motherfucker, stat. I watched Doogie Howser stat. Barry's hands dance all over my skin. Babes, please, calm down. Nigga, shut up. Doctors was like, sir, is your wife on drugs? She's on drugs, you can't have this baby here. The nurses, they was Jamaican, you know, sounded like the I3s. Mona, you must come down, the baby, Mona, the baby. But I didn't feel irate, I felt irate. The doctor said, miss, you're not ready for no baby. Well, it's too late now, ain't it? I asked for this baby, I don't want this kid, I asked for this baby, I don't want this kid. The I3s, their hands clasped in sympathy, shimmied up to me, shaking their tambourines. Mona, you must calm down, the baby will get a disease. I don't care. Remember Lamaze, breathe, baby, just breathe. You should have seen me, went into my new Mary Lou Retton. You don't see too many gymnasts with big hips, but I was doing a flip-flop and somersault floor routine. Finally, some orderlies got to me. Doctor gave me an enema and said I would feel better. And I did a little bit, went to the toilet, and all of a sudden another pain hit, and I shot up, still shitting. Left the Hansel and Gretel trail of diarrhea from triage to the maternity ward and all over the lounge. Got up on the couch and announced, I want this baby out of me now. Barry started looking at the other men for help, and all they could say was, I'm glad that's not my wife. Babe, what about Lamaze? Maybe we put a little water on your lift. That's when I knew the situation was desperate, so I dropped to the ground face first and tried to push the baby out. Pressed my distended stomach against that cold tile. The nurses, Mona, you got to kill the baby, Mona. And bam, the baby started coming out and got on the gurney. And when he was out, I felt fine. 100 cc's of Demerol, and 2 days later, I woke to the entire hospital staff saying, miss, you better not have no more kids. And then none of them laughed either. Postpartum depression was one touch and feed the kid, hated it. My boyfriend had to take care of him for 2 weeks. It was a mess. Me and the baby crying. Barry was walking in circles saying, the bigger the headache, the bigger the pill, the bigger the headache, the bigger the pill. But now I love my child, won't let nobody touch him. Don't let nobody touch him, least of all these lazy niggas who say, wish I could have a baby. And for some reason, when I walk the street and the men say hi, I no longer feel as if I have to speak. This one is called Stall Me Out. Why you know rhythm, afraid of women, asexual, pseudo-intellectual, ball mount, Fuji head, no booty, having big nose, size 13 feet, pigeon toe, crook-footed, Taco Bell, burrito supreme, eating, daydreaming, no jump shot, can't dunk, comic book read, nutrition need, knock need, sap sucker, non-driving, and in fashion, constantly depressed, clumsy, no money, motherfucker, take your weak-ass poems and go back to Los Angeles. On the catnip tip, I can feel the spit from my bottom lip stick to the boy's bathroom spliff. Hey yo, nigga, take a bigger hit. Bell rings and I sit in my silla, trapped in the back of Spanish class, tapping my hands and feet to the post-pot. God damn, I'm fucked up. Purple sense of me, a rope learning echo. Repite por favor, favor, favor. I say calor, calor, calor. This mess sounds like an Espanol round of row, row, row your boat. Only the doofus kid spoke. Entiendes, Pablo? Blow, blow, blow. What page are we on? Ask me amiga la china in front of me, or que pagina, and she hooked me up with an I say frio, frio, frio. And I shivered in the thought that last night the freed seals who normally squawk up and down the frozen tundra of my block watched in silence, balancing beach balls of anger on their noses as animal trainers and badges slaved my music. Hip-hop assumed a position on the downbeat, the beat down into submission. Pie out, tag, nigga. Well, if you see a nigga, then slap that nigga, whack. I I watch the flies take off and land on the one-way lacerations the strap left behind. Won't be needing a red cap to carry my baggage. Looks like my flight to the promised land has been delayed. Now boarding a one-way FM daydream diatribe that plays music that I like but would never buy. Bye, bye, wish America died. Drove my moped to the old head, but the old head was high. New Jack was drinking Cisco and Colt 45, singing, this'll be the day that I die. Don McLean is not exactly my speed, so at lunch I hopped on Walkman and bought this comic book I got scrunched between Lesions de Nueve Diez and my Soli Sombra text. It's all about how this Jewish indie ink mouse and his father cope with the Holocaust in monthly doses. Uh-oh, I'm busted. Me professor is coughing chalk on her face, giving me the wah, 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 wah. Charlie Brown lecture, because I'm supposed to be conjugating the verb kantar, not reading about Auschwitz. Ain't that a bitch? Yo, Kanto, so fucking what? You Nat King Cole or something? Su cantas. You ain't my boss. I don't have to sing no more. Just pick the cotton, or have you forgotten? Nosotros cantamos. We sing it so loud, almost didn't hear the balloon-shaped shouts of the survivor mouse point out that the feline Nazi cops put the crazy cat Kristallnacht cartoon kibosh on hip-hop. With 45 commercial-free, continuous minutes of non-stop nightstick and nipkanop. See, while Heathcliff's lip-wafts ganipping, Garfield's workmots ganopping this nasty two-step, poker-face goose-step that kick the deuces are wild, juices are kept zest out of the Pez dispenser of uncensored expression. Till a candy-coated tongue that once drunk from underground streams of break beats on jaw trips that spelunked into the memory bank depths of exploratory cave funk is now twisted, dripping sugar-free spittle in the middle of a housing project lobby. Check out the SS Cheshire Cat cracking up at Rap's Last Dance. You'll laugh so hard, your sides will ache, your heart will go pitter-pat. Watson Felix, the wonderful cat. Open his music critic bag of tricks and host an autopsy on hip-hop's body. I'm now removing the rusty wheels of steel so molded, corroded that the motor booty seems to have exploded. Also noted is that the sacroiliac is broken and the token Grammy Award is scratched from all the glass, shrapnel, dispatch, and rap shattered the window of radio access. And despite lack of evidence, Doc Felix ruled the assassination of a paragraph president suicide, citing the fact even though Einstein knew energy equal to MC squared, even he was not prepared to ride his bike through the stupid stage show of the third right. Here go the mic, sight, master race permanently turning down the bass, and all that's left is this strange Purina cat chow, 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 meow mix of copacetic mid-range and rhetoric treble that blitzkrieg's old school schoolroom history. Boom, 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 the Civil War was fought for who? Oh yeah, and y'all fought World War II for the Jews. Skipping the pop quiz, the refugee children of Rat, New Jack, and Jill Swing went on about their biz and prepared for the funeral by placing Ma Rainey's shoes on the pulpy Michigosh remnants of hip-hop. Princess Tam Tam, Count Basie's big band, the Barcades, and the mythical Bessie Smith carried the casket. And when the Harlem Renaissance bent down to kiss the swollen lips of today's race music, tears smeared the cosmetic of the new black aesthetic. But this necrophilia swap of spit with the oral tradition was the literary CPR needed to emergency jump-stop hip-hop's heart. Rampart, this is Squad 51. We have a few new chart zombies of the living blues, blind lemon Jeffersonian niggas with attitudes, part 2, bum rushing the Louvre, painting tunes in the dark, fuck the French, fuck Mona Lisa and her crew, and if you disapprove of me not knowing the ontology of the white man's muse, well fuck you too. Cause this music is a color-struck dermatologist's dream, a hand cream smooth enough to soften this black-skinned white masquerade, France phenomena escapade that porcelana love songs make oppression fade away. If loving you is wrong, I don't wanna be right. Back where I started from in the back of the bus, listen to the engine hum, we shall overcome. It's hip-hop's job to knock out pop, outbox radio stars that try to drown out hatred with acoustic guitars and harmonies written on a paper canvas with the rhythmless dance. To a pseudo groove that crosses over imaginary schisms. We're all human beings, bullshit that should be givens, not revelations. People are people, especially you all, I mean the unequal. They go rap, kick, dazzle, mathematics, distance traveled equals time divided by the speed of the beat. All the Gestapo in the house go ho. All the crack babies go ow. You ever notice how dances reflect the sign of the time? Say it's 1989 and the beats have slowed down and spellbound entrepreneurial black capitalist silkscreen Malcolm X on crew neck t-shirts for Nubian humans. By any genes necessary. Shrink the fit poverty of ideologies 100% cotton, or have you forgotten the Clorox lyrics to Dixie still bleeds the teachings. And when colors bleed, the fight for your rights begins anew. Hip-hop rings the bell for round 2. You get up off your stool doing that dance, the running man, swinging your hands perpendicular to the ground, feet sweeping the floor in an exaggerated Muhammad Ali skip-stop testicular tantrum of muscles shuffling between the snare drum and the inherent urge to hustle. Goddamn, this music feeds Acme Iron Pellet fake birdseed to roadrunners with world-class speed who can't escape the magnetic pull of Wile E. Coyote's bullshit DJ super genius. In 1886, you should have seen us. We had just broke out of the Reconstruction cocoon, so reborn butterfly McQueens was something to prove beyond sambo buffoonery. We invented the cakewalk, a dance where even if you were sharecropping and clodhoppers getting county checks, it looked like you was dancing in your Sunday best. Lifting your knees to your puffed up chest, a hand on your hip, and now with your hip on hand, you can digitally sample any decade on wax. Twisting through the leather jacketed 50s on a thumb-sucking tonal time trip, it hit me. I began to wonder. If the rhythm stick is a psychological whip that makes body rockin' licorice sticks put up with sexist homophobic lyrics just to be hip. There's a place I know where the hipsters go called bedrock. Twist, twist. The music's in fifth, so why cakewalk over the psychology of oppression when you can run the motherfucker over? Hip-hop goes Bronco, four-wheeling over the bump, running over the funky chicken in the road. Excuse me, do I have trademarks on my soul? If you didn't, you wouldn't be in here trading cigarettes with James Brown, making big hits out of tidbits of soul. Soon at the end of poems, credits, not heads will roll. This is dedicated to the one I love, the cycloptic papa of hip-hop, the Uncle Wannabe commie Paul Robeson, first to boast that he ain't no broken down conduit field nigga river of spit for you to sail down in your popsicle stick ships, flipping through the GQ cosmopolitan fashion glamour, being down with the downtrodden from Harlem to Wiesbaden. Licking freedom off the 4th of July bomb pop booing and on off Aurora Borealis fireworks that burst from plug-in drums. If you was really with it, you realize these electric riff signal a second coming, where the earth's no longer fully jocking God and the Antichrist holds a mic up front smoking blunts with an Allen Front Mean Street, pulling up to armless people in the street talking about, pardon me, do you have the time? Oh, you laugh eating 2 pieces of chicken and a biscuit, finger looking good and all that shit, but it's hip-hop that reminds you that there's old folks eating kibbles and bits. And if Eleanor Bumpers was at the table, she'd be sucking the grease off her wrists, her shotgun fingers on the floor, pointing out that hip-hop is a politically, economically amputee people's fists getting paid because the tills are alive with the sound of music. And if your crisis of the Negro intellectual cruising and shit don't talk to the party, I'm afraid that people can't use it.
Wij gaan verder met Huizinga, die onlangs het kerstverse lid is geworden van het blad voor de poëzie, Poëzie Nieuws. In 1990 bracht zij een bundel uit dankzij de gemeente Nijmegen. Het eiland over de brug. Hier is Huizinga.
Het niets doen is tot nut geworden. Het staren in de straat waar gekken en wandelaars op en af me komen. En aan het eind van links naar rechts en rechts naar links, fietsers en ambulances de binnenste buitenring nemen. En op hun draaiende wielen mijn blikveld in en uitkomen. De boom die 's winters zicht biedt op stad Schouwburg en Amerikaan is weer een centimeter gegroeid, zie ik. En ik heb niets gemeten, want het niets doen is tot nut geworden. Ik staar naar mijn vergeeld plafond dat vanzelf vies wordt, maar niet vanzelf schoon. En ik zie hoe het vuil weer een centimeter gegroeid is in keuken en badkamer. Soms roep ik haar aan, maar zij houdt ook niet schoon. En ik al zeker niet. Het niets doen is tot nut geworden. Margaret. Het strand van IJmuiden ligt ergens in het midden van Holland. Het is een breed strand en zelfs met vloed is het een half uur lopen van de duinen tot de vloedlijn. In de zomer staan er witte huisjes op het strand, 3 rijen. Brede en langwerpige huisjes met een veranda en grote ramen. Het was de avond voor de langste dag. De zon had de hele dag hoog gestaan. Rechts was het Noordzeekanaal met daarachter de hoogovens die zoals altijd milieuonvriendelijk en spectaculair stonden, staal en zwart en ijzer. Precies om 20:30 ontvluchtte ik de rokerige ruimte van zeezicht en mijn lichaam verslaafd aan beweging ging haar eigen gang en begon te rennen. Het klotsen van mijn volle maag maakte me misselijk en met een aantal antiperistaltische bewegingen kon ik mijn eten teruggeven aan de aarde. Ik begroef het onder het zand. Terwijl ik al boerend en scheterlatend rende, verscheen opeens zij. Ze zei, waar is mijn hart? Waar is de zee? Ik zei, de zee is daar. Je hart is weg. Zij zei, ik wil de harten open. En als de harten niet meer open gaan, zal ik ze breken, die harten van steen, die alles beter weten. Waar is mijn hart? Heeft het zich opgegeten of is het verdwenen onder dikke lagen vlees, samengevoegd, zodat geen hart meer zichtbaar is? De zee zigzacht zonderling, de zee zigzacht zonderling, de zee zigzacht zonderling. Ik zei, waar is je moeder? Ze zei, de moeder is een idee. Zij is het lijf waar je in groeit. De zuurstof in haar bloed is wat jou voedt. Jij vreet haar, je zuigt haar op. Zij verstikt jou en poept je uit. Ze is het gat waar je door geboren wordt. Waar is mijn hart? Ik voel me leeg en hopeloos. Ik zei, hoe leeg? Zij zei, er hangt een klepel in mij. Een klepel die bomt en orentergend lawaai maakt. Die slaat, beweegt en lucht verplaatst. Vol bonzende lucht ben ik. Ik zei, zo leeg voel je je? Het klinkt me vol. Hoe hopeloos. Zo hopeloos als een geplette vlinder, zei zij. Dat zegt me niets, zei ik. Een geplette vlinder is niet zichtbaar meer, zei zij. En weg was zij. En de zwaarden staken uit het duin en het licht weerkaatste de gerimpelde zee. En oh, die zoutkristallen. Op het scherp van de snee verscheen en verdween de vrouw die kots, bed en brood met me deelt. Ik riep haar na. Hoe laat je na je hart te laten zien? En aan de westkant voegt een inkomend schip lucht en zee samen. De zee is ver. Die middag toen ik zwom was het vloed geweest. Op de vloedlijn hield ik stil. Links lag Zandvoort in het late licht. Even leek Zandvoort uit een toekomstige eeuw. Een enorme stad met een skyline die tot de wolken reikt. En verder. Bedankt.
Dat is Huizinga. Jennifer Blowdryer komt oorspronkelijk uit North Carolina. Maar zoals veel Amerikanen verhuisde zij op 14-jarige leeftijd naar New York. Daar trad zij op in de punkband The Blowdryers. Vandaar haar achternaam, die niet werkelijk is, maar wel waar. Jennifer Blowdryer publiceerde in 1984 haar eerste bundel Modern English. Verder kwamen bij uitgeverij Zeitgeist uit onder meer Where's My Wife en Wrong, Wrong, Wrong. Ook bij uitgeverij DC Comics The Laziest Secretary in the World. Vanavond brengt zij maximale teksten voor u, begeleid door minimale muziek. De muziek is van Gerben Bisschop. Dames en heren, Jennifer Blowdryer.
Thank you. I might do a song first because it was a lot of reading to hear at one time. Although I hear the Dutch are patient.
You're slow.
You're slow. Hurry up, goddammit! You cried once, you cried twice. Like the poet said, get your cutthroat off my knife. You screwed me once, you screwed me twice, you screwed me the third time I found out you had a wife, but I'm not that man. I'm not that man. So I'll meet you when we're 40 if we both live too long. We'll go to the corner bar like nothing went wrong. First I'll tell you why I don't drink, and then I'll order two. You stole my guitar, you ran to L.A., on the street. You were smoking with a black shirt on and dragging your feet. So I'll meet you when we're 40. You'll tattoo my right arm. But you know, if you really would have listened, I wouldn't have done so much harm. And I know you don't drink, so I'll meet you in the middle, and you always knew what was wrong. So answer me this riddle: you had a sensei, and you ate kelp. Tell me, darling, did it help? I'm not sure what to read, because I have like a girl adventure story, and kind of my book Wrong, 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 it's like an advice book to teenage girls to how not to live your life.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Don't do this.
No, no, no.
I saw Dana at a party. He was slouched on the floor against a wall. A balding, intense man with big brown eyes and an anonymous redneck outfit. Long john top, flares, and a green army coat, and I proceeded to act out a crush, and later on I found out he sang for a band called Magister Ludi and would swing from ceiling rafters, climb out of a coffin, and throw raw meat from the supermarket he loaded for around the club. And today this is known as performance art, but Dana really meant it. For our first date, he came over to the apartment I lived in with my mother and tied me up with cords in my little stucco bedroom, bruising my body and not talking much. And then he quietly left, and I started going to boxing matches with him. I learned how to comment on the fights, and I always made sure to keep drinking. I wore handcuffs that were a present from him, and I swaggered and staggered after him at boxing matches. And he took me back to his house in South San Francisco after a match and blindfolded me until we got to his bed, and then he tied me down and buzzed me with the vibrator when I passed out. And I must have known it wasn't a normal date, but I was an unpopular kid, so I didn't really have anything to compare it to. I still thought the whole thing was funny. And I wrote a song called Dana for my band. He's so big he looks like a Marine. He's the biggest thing that I've ever seen. Even though he's fat and bald, he's the only one that I ever called Dana, Dana. And he wasn't exactly a boyfriend, but I went along with it for a while until he took me to the Claremont Hotel, tied me up, and pulled out a whirring razor that he wanted to use to remove my pubic hair. And this was my limit. I had a fit, and I screamed right in the hotel at the top of my lungs. He drove me to my job in a construction trailer the next morning, and he had to pause to puke out his car door on the way. And Linwood I first saw at this warehouse party, slouched in a big armchair with a pork pie hat, 40s shoes, and 2 missing front teeth, and a big grin that came from a whole city, a whole music, a whole drug, and a walk to go with it, and I wanted that walk. I had an elaborate party at my apartment, and a pretty girl I didn't know came, and she brought me a hostess gift of a cigarette holder, which made me look more like a baby Phyllis Diller. And Linwood came, and I was determined that he wouldn't leave, even though he didn't seem that interested in me. And he didn't leave, but he couldn't get it up either. And the next day I found this cracker with multicolored toothpaste squirted on it inside of my bathroom mirror cabinet, and I would wait for that cab driver, junkie, blues bass player in any bar or diner. I went after him with a vengeance. I loved watching him walk that walk, drink gin and tonics, reheat last night's Chinese food by smearing it in a frying pan with butter. I needed him. I love to fuck him. It's probably the last time I could really fuck, although I have a boyfriend I'm quite fond of now. Riding him hard until I came for the first time in my life, and wanting to go to his bedroom again and again with just a sliding door between us and the junkies on the living room couch. And he always wanted it a little hard. And now that I'm numb and have been full of opiates on more than one occasion, I can understand Linwood better. Sometimes I wish an 18-year-old me would tackle me out of my sleep. Linwood had this other older girl called Marie Shaboom who was married. She left a leopardette G-string under the bed, and she knew how to give cute birthday cards, and we all went ridiculous rounds with each other. Marie, I realize now, was fun. She owned the store because she said she found diamonds in a box of rags. She had bad scars on her face because her and Linwood were fucked up, and they lit a match to see what was wrong with their car battery. And then it blew up in her face, and she had to go to the emergency room, and then she kicked in Linwood's ribs, and he had to go to the emergency room, and then Linwood had Bobby tomorrow shoot me up a few too many times, and I had to go to the emergency room, and on it went. With everything thrown in from methadone to gossip to diamond rings lodged in toilet bowl pipes. And once I saw her with brilliant green hair, and I was so jealous. I wanted to immediately dye my own hair green until I found out it had been a tragic hairdressing mistake. What I thought was a trump card on her part was actually a minor loss she suffered. And once Linwood walked into a bar that contained both me and Marie, and he quickly left, and finally Linwood turned blue and threw up in one too many taxi cabs, and the beatnik was the next serious boyfriend that I can remember. And sometimes I wonder if the real relationship wasn't between me and Marie Shaboom anyway, and the beatnik was the kind of guy I see a lot now that I'm back on the East Coast, but there weren't that many like him in California. He was big and lumbering and handsome. He was the kind of guy that could have passed for a jock, but he decided he was an artist. But then he made these minimal sculptures and got laid anyway. And I met him at a Stranglers concert when I wasn't wanting to meet anybody. And when we walked down the street, he kept ripping flyers carefully down from walls. For a project, he said, and there was no way of knowing that no matter how hard I fought it, no matter how much I dressed up, or jogged, or mooched, or hung out with psychotic transsexuals, there was no way to know that for the rest of my life. Everybody I knew would always have a project. For the rest of my life, I would always have a project. I just thought it was cute at the time, a project. And Peter jerked me off, and he told me that he owned me at the same time. He lived with this painter-singer girl, but I was meaner then. And she just seemed like one of these girls with long brown hair and careful boots who was always squinting and stomping out of rooms around me. I was young and skinny. I wrote clever letters summing up my virtues. I was on those flyers before he started carefully ripping them down off of the wall. I had the time to shave my legs, and finally I got a Budweiser bottle smashed on my face, making me look like a boxer with diamond-shaped front teeth, one eye, and a bloody chin, and I needed him. I just moved in. Mean woodprints about me began to appear in magazines. My social life and wardrobe were restricted by Peter, and we blamed each other loudly and terribly through thin, roofless walls. He said leave, and I did, and he said come back, and I put on this big flannel nightgown and said no. And I went out with Travis because Peter was big and grouchy, and he could make small decisions affecting the lives of musicians, so nobody else had the balls to go near me. And Travis wasn't his real name. He was good at this is my hardcore past and how I was wanted by the mafia and jumped parole and got out of jail and then willed myself not to be paralyzed, much to the amazement of the medical staff stories. And he had this fascinating little power. He owned this shabby attempt at a shopping mall with thrift store and designer clothing. We went on a tour where I took this battered typewriter and Travis hit a town and ripped out all the thrift store section of the yellow pages and then made corresponding symbols in a map so we could run through a huge value village and dart right over to a tiny epileptic society store with a crumbling porch to buy a brown print dress for 10 cents in record time. And at night I'd sit in our motel room with a brand new used baby doll slip-on, and I tried to type an assignment for school, and Travis hated the fact that I was a college girl and I didn't know the meaning of work or crime. So he'd have me do things like run out for organic apple juice to keep me busy, but once he gave me mushrooms, and he took me to see Halloween too. And a few things became clear to me as I tripped in the dark theater. And one of those things was that I could absolutely not stand Travis. He gave me a plane ticket to meet him in New York for a fashion show, and I got on the plane and I started shaking. And I got off to go hang out with a melancholic, elegant German rug merchant who didn't last long either. And it took 2 weeks to get my luggage back, because once you check it and it's on the plane, you have to have them send it to your house. And I was too Russian Jewish planted to the ground for that reedy German. I hate whining in Chinese restaurants. Soon Hans and I disgusted each other, and then it was Stephen who played bass with me and first fucked me when I was 17 and always bought me cocktails when he saw me for the 6 years in between. But I had to leave Stephen because he never wanted me to talk to anybody, and he was moody in this very gracious, subtle, alcoholic way. I would beat him if I stayed. But it turned out later we wrote 2 songs together, and then came this thrash metal Sicilian who grew up on a couch in Union City, New Jersey. And by then I didn't like sex much, but I liked that heavy metal court jester with the dead prince. And I didn't think it was weird to get hit or wait for 3 a.m. visits. A certain beauty prevailed for a couple of years. And I understood something about my mother for the first time, that ability to love unconditionally. And I don't know if the whole damn ride's been worth it. I never got a card on Valentine's Day, but 80% of my dental bill is still paid by the Lucky Store Medico Dental Union Insurance Plan, Lot 115, because the guy who tied me up and took me to boxing matches put me down as a spouse on his union form when my teeth got knocked out. I'm jet lagged. I'm not that tough. This is about this family I fell in love with in Chicago while I was on ecstasy, actually. Came in, sat down, said I blew it, I'll hang out with you. He came in, he sat down, did you meet my transvestite stepsister? No. And sometimes I think that the strength of America is found in transvestite bars, high on crystal methadone, screaming in the paddy wagon. Hey, I'm not a fag, I'm a drag. 2, 3, 4.